name is Gene. You can reach me at Buc What You Heard. You follow me, I will follow you back. And this is the first chance I've really got to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after that big win on Sunday against the Carolina Panthers. And I want to welcome a special guest, a longtime friend of the show, Trevor Sikkema. He's the senior writer at Draft Network. Did I get that right?
Yep, you got it. Nailed it.
All right. Yeah, I'll have to take a beer, drink a beer to that. How's everything going, man?
Dude, it's going good. It's been, as we were talking in the pre-show, it's been too long. It's been a long time since I've been on the show. I always really appreciate it when you have me on. And so I'm excited to talk Bucs football with you again.
Yes, sir. So here we go. You know, the Bucs had that disappointing loss on last week, and here we go, and they rebound, and they look good. They look really good, actually. Compared, they look better than what I thought they would, because I've been very cautiously optimistic about this team. I know on the outside, I'm like, yeah, let's go. But I'm like, yeah, let's see what they do. Let's see if they make changes. And I like the fact that they actually made upgrades. They fixed some things that you saw that were kind of flaws in the first game. They've really fixed a lot of that. And I think that we're fortunate to have Tom Brady as the quarterback behind this team.
Yeah. I mean, look, week one, listen, they were going up against one of the best teams in the NFL. You know, like a lot of people had the Saints as their Super Bowl favorites. And I know they didn't look so great this past Monday night against the Raiders when they dropped that game. But it's still the Saints. I mean, like everybody just has off weeks. And I think that was more of, hey, the Raiders were ready for it. They were jazzed. Gruden had those guys ready. And surely it was an off night for Drew Brees. But I just wanted to say that after week one, there were so many people freaking out, and there were things that the Bucs needed to fix, but like we got to have some context here. Okay. It was a COVID offseason. Right. So you already didn't have a lot of practices there. You were losing valuable snaps and reps in practice from OTAs, mini camps. And this wasn't just the young guys. This is everybody who was losing out on these. Then you're throwing in a brand new quarterback for the first time in 5 years. You're getting all these different weapons in there. You're getting a new rotation. Yeah, they had some continuity that they were bringing back, but the most important piece, the guy who touches the ball every time, I get that it's Tom Brady. You were sure to be excited, and I think that was the right move for the Buccaneers. But coming out of the gate in New Orleans, even with no fans there, I said that they were going to lose against New Orleans.
Yeah,
you know,
I picked them.
I have high hopes for this Bucs team over the next couple of years. You know, I'm sure that we'll get to this over a couple of times as we talk on this podcast, but you know, I don't think, and I've always said this, I was saying this during the summer, even after the draft, it was like, hey, they did a great job adding the right talent. I think that they're going in the right direction, but I don't think 2020 is their year. I think they're going to be good. Don't get me wrong. I think they're going to win somewhere between 9 to 10 games. I think they could absolutely make the playoffs as a wild card team. I think the Saints are still going to win the division. And so I think that this team is going to have success. But in terms of that high aspiration, like 12, 13 wins, winning the division, maybe getting a bye, taking a Super Bowl run, I really think that that's next year. I really do. And so this year is a big building block for them. And so coming out of the gate with them losing in New Orleans, it was like a lot of people acted like the world was on fire. And you gotta kind of take a step back and say, hey, it's never fun when your team loses, but you gotta have some context with it. They bounced back, and honestly, they executed things better. And that was really about the only difference that happened against Carolina. Now, was it because Carolina is an inferior team, or was it because the Bucs stepped up a little bit more? I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah. But really, after all the hoopla and the freaking out and the discussions and things like that, 1-1, that's exactly where we thought this team would be 2 weeks in.
Yeah, and think about this: the Bucs are at 500 right now in the division, and think about this: if they can continue to win, and you know, just go out and play each game, I mean, they're in a fight to actually play for that NFC South championship. I know that they lost to New Orleans, but I think that's a winnable game for the Bucs based on how they played against them out of the gate with, you know, a lot of the things that we talked about with COVID and, you know, the lack of snaps and lack of reps, especially on offense. And the one thing that people have to keep in mind, the defense is a little bit farther ahead than the offense only because of familiarity. The core of your team right now is all played together, and the pieces that you plugged in, Winfield Jr., who is amazing.
Yeah, he's a stud.
He's a stud. And just some of the upgrades that they've made along that line, that defensive line, and bringing players back, I just think they're going to be they're going to start out ahead, and they kind of showed that. If we can keep this team healthy, if this team can stay healthy, especially defensively, the Bucs are in every single game they play. I do not see a team coming out there and just dominating the Bucs. I think that if the Bucs lose, it's because of stupid mistakes or communication or something
Right.
within the team itself, but not a team that's just going to step in there and just dominate the Bucs.
They got to get the drops figured out, like
Yes.
big time. They got to get the drops figured out because that was bad. I mean, if they were playing a better opponent, not that I think that Carolina is like going for a winless season or anything, but they're clearly a very young roster. I think they are going to be a team that finishes in the top 10 when it comes to record that earns them a top 10 overall pick in the NFL draft. And so, they weren't really playing a big team, but they left a lot of points out on the field. That's every coach's point. He's talking about leaving points on the field, mental mistakes. Yeah. And I think the Bucs had plenty of those against Carolina, which you've got to get fixed once you get into the better opponents. But they've got a stretch of games here where they can really start to settle in and get into their own, figure stuff out, going up against a Denver team coming up next week. No Drew Lock on this team, so it's going to be a struggle for them with Jeff Driscoll as their starting quarterback. Then, the Chargers in a couple of weeks, they're still figuring these things out. They might be starting a rookie quarterback. They might be starting Justin Herbert. And I know Herbert looked good against the Chiefs, but it's still a rookie quarterback. Daniel Jones looked good.
That's a division. That was a division game too.
Right. And Daniel Jones looked good against the Buccaneers when he had his first start. Now, I know I'm bringing up old wounds because they should have won that game anyways. But
Mitch Trubisky looked good against the Bucs.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So, there's a lot of stuff where it's like guys early in their career can look good against really any opponent. And so I say all that to say, these next couple of weeks, they have an opportunity to really solidify themselves. And, going back to that Monday Night Football game with the Saints and the Raiders, man, the Saints looked vulnerable. Breeze looked like he was a shell of himself. And I don't know if that was just a bad day or what, but if that's the Drew Brees that we're getting for the rest of the season, Tampa has a shot to win this thing. And when I say this thing, I mean the NFC South. And it wouldn't necessarily even be because I think that Tampa's further along than what I would have thought. I just think that New Orleans might not be as strong as what we once believed. And so it's going to be interesting. And again, like we were saying before.
But you got to throw this in there. If you're not trying to hang 40 on Tampa and you're just running the ball, your number one receiver doesn't get hurt. Just saying.
Right.
I'm just putting it out there. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And he wasn't there. And, because of that, I think that's a big reason why they lost. But Tampa showed up against that New Orleans offense. And I think that they, if they continue on this path, that they do have an answer for that offense. And, as well as the Bucs defense being good as well. So, just kind of getting back to Carolina, and I know you're in Charlotte. What is the vibe with Matt Rule? I like Matt Rule.
Yeah. No, I think that people around Charlotte like Matt Rule. I think they're
impatient.
No, it's I don't know if it's necessarily impatient. It's just the fact that you got to realize what they're moving on from, right?
Right.
Ron Rivera, longtime head coach that built them an amazing franchise here that took them to a Super Bowl. He moves on. It's the first year without him. Cam Newton, their franchise quarterback, the guy who's been the face for them for years and years and years. Again, an MVP, a guy who took them to a Super Bowl. He is now gone too. Luke Kuechly, the heart and soul of that defense, the guy that everybody loved, he's also gone. So the top three cornerstones of what you would have thought the Carolina Panthers franchise is all gone. And so I think that people like the Matt Rule hire. I think that people like Matt Rule. They understand it's going to be a process. They know that the team is young. It's not going to be like a quick fix or anything like that. But the way that they moved on from Cam Newton, I think still rubs people the wrong way.
It was wrong.
I agree. I totally agree with you that it was wrong. And I just think that that's getting in the way of them really buying in and loving this Matt Rule thing. And so honestly, below the surface, I think they're happy with Rule. I think they like what he's going to bring, and they have faith that he could be a good head coach for them. We will certainly see, but it's just anytime you're moving on from those kinds of cornerstone guys, let alone all at once, it's tough when you're a fan.
Yeah, and then to see Cam Newton play the way he played.
Oh God, that doesn't make it any easier.
Right there. Okay, I have Ken Barrett is joining us here. This is my co-host, and again, if you're just joining us, I have Trevor Sikkema on here, and we're talking about the game on Sunday and just the how the Bucs won, and to be honest, we haven't been in a position like this. I mean, if you go back through the Jameis Winston era, and I'm going to say that this one time, this is my caveat. I'm going to talk about him here. The Bucs have continuously started out slow. I mean, they may win one game, but then you'll see like they'll lose a couple, 3 or 4 games. I don't get that feeling here, and I guess it remains to be seen, but I like the way that Tom Brady was able to bounce back. I think they fixed a lot of things that they had problems with in the game 1, and they've actually moved forward. And we have a running back who's kind of emerged, in this game. And I do want to touch on this too, because everybody's talking about Ronald Jones and how Ronald Jones lost his job. To me, it's about wins and losses. It's about that guy that's going to move the ball. It's about the guy that's going to help you win the game. It's not so much who's getting the ball, who's toting the rock. It comes back to, hey, is this combination going to work to help us win this game or what? I think Ronald Jones is going to be a huge contributor on down the line to help this team if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, I was on with the Loose Cannons podcast guys earlier.
I love those guys.
And they kind of brought this up, and I really liked the idea, so I kind of like ran with it and just it gave what they were saying a little bit more structure. It's almost like when you take Bruce Arians' words, when he talked about Leonard Fournette being like the finisher, like the guy who had the fresh legs at the end of the game, it's almost like a pitching rotation in baseball where you have your starter who, hey, he might go 3 innings one game, he might go 7.5 innings the next game, right? And so It's just like, you're not really sure. And I think that when people look at Ronald Jones, and like, I have plenty of fun on Twitter saying this past weekend, I was like, hey, what was your favorite part of the Ronald Jones era? And, I don't mean to be too hard on Ronald Jones, because he absolutely is going to have a place on this team. And I think the place on this team is he's the starter. He will be the guy out of the gate. Now, unless Fournette just starts going wild and it's like 100-yard game. Okay, now we obviously need to give this guy more carries. But
set the tone.
As of right now, I really do think that Ronald Jones is going to start the game. He's going to be the guy that they are going to lean on for the first couple of series of the game. And depending on how he's playing, they might either ride with the hot hand or they might go to a different guy. And so I really do think you've got to start thinking about this Bucs running back room as almost like a pitching rotation every single game. You're not sure what you're going to get. Ronald Jones is going to be the starter. Leonard Fournette's probably going to be the closer. But how much each guy gets throughout the game, I think is going to be different. And so that's the way that I'd view it. I think Shady is clearly the top pass catching back in this group. He was second on the team in targets with 7 this past week. And so that was a telling tale with Chris Godwin out, who they were really leaning on. And it ended up being LaShawn McCoy, even with a couple of drops in miscommunications they had. So they clearly have a lot of faith in him. They have a lot of faith in these running backs to get it done in any way they can. And I think, Gene, to your point, everybody gets obsessed with one running back doing everything. And like everybody's always trying to find that like franchise back that you can have on the field, never take off. He could pass block for you. He could pass catch. He could tote the rock, all this kinds of stuff. And everybody's just always looking for that. And I have a feeling that we just have a tendency to go, if you're not that, we just think you're garbage. Like we think that you don't have like that you don't have a place, like that you're replaceable, like get off the team or whatever.
That's that Madden mentality though.
It's that Madden and fantasy football mentality. But like, I'm just here to say that's not how this Bucs running back room is going to work. It's not. They're going to use all 3 guys, and they would rather at the end of the day, instead of, well, I don't know about rather, because if one guy takes over, you love seeing that anyways. But if between the 3 of their running backs, they have 100 yards rushing, 50 to 70 yards catching, like they're going to be happy. They don't care how it happens. They just want it to happen. And so figuring out how it's going to get divvied up, that's going to be a telling tale every single week. But I think that Ronald Jones is still going to be the starter. I think that Leonard Fournette is going to be the closer. And I think that LaShawn McCoy is going to be the guy that you sprinkle in there to help out the pass.
Yep. And I'm going to get to you here in a minute, Ken. Think about this. Let's go back to 2016 after Doug Martin was the number 2 rusher in the NFL. And you look at what they've done at the running back position up until this year. It's just it has not been consistent. They've not been able to depend on it. And here we are. You have a great, to me, I would consider a scary running back room to two opposing teams. And I think they're going to make the most of that, to be honest. And it doesn't matter who's starting. I don't care if it's Leonard Fournette and you bring Ronald Jones in. I don't care if it's Ronald Jones and you bring Leonard Fournette in or you bring Shady in. It doesn't matter to me because I think whatever combination they come up with, they're going to put this team in a better position than what they've been over the past 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that I've seen it's kind of similar to Trevor. And since we're all basically have our roots in Tampa, the way I see it is kind of like the Rays opener with Ronald Jones right now. He might start the game being in that first series, and he offers, in my opinion, right now, given where Fournette's at with learning the offense, he offers a little bit more diversity, a little bit more play action. When we've seen Fournette on the field, typically the ball has gone to him. So with Ronald Jones on the field, you're able to do a little bit more, spread the field out a little bit, and then if you get that lead, then you go with Fournette and you really pound the rock, set the tone for the rest of the game. And as you both have kind of pointed out, be the closer, run the 4-minute offense, which as a Bucs fan, I haven't seen that in a long time. And watching Fournette break that run was amazing. But I also want to see, against teams like the Saints or the Chiefs or the Packers later this year, if we are able to have that lead, get those couple key first downs to keep quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes off the field in those last, minute or two situations. Because as we saw with the Chargers, you can put up a heck of a defensive fight. You can be in those games with those, stud teams. But if you got to keep those quarterbacks off the field to end the game. And if we have our closer in Fournette who can grind out those 4, 5, 6 yard gains and then, break one, great. But I think he really likes having a role right now, given that he hasn't really been able to get his feet wet in the offense and really be able to, diversify his skill set until hopefully we see later in the year.
Guys, we were very fortunate to have that Leonard Fournette run. I want to talk to you, Trevor, about and Ken, I want you to follow up after Trevor. When the Bucs came out to that 21-0 lead, they were just balling out. They that was the play calling. Everything was flowing. When you get to the second half, you're talking about a tale of two halves. And I want to get your opinion. Do you think that was more execution or was that more play calling? Based on what we saw in the second half, because it did not look anything like the first half and how aggressive they were going after it. And there were plays that were made that were aggressive plays. Whereas in the second half, you didn't quite see the same thing, or it didn't have that same feel as the first half.
I don't know if it was play calling specifically because, when you analyze play calling, especially when you go back and you watch the tape, and hopefully it's kind of like an all 22 tape where you can really see everything. You have
which is by the way is out finally.
Thank God.
Thank God. Shout out to Game Pass. I love you guys for getting it right. Go back.
When you're looking for play calling, at least for me, I always have to go into a study session knowing that this is what I'm looking for. So I've only had a chance to go back and watch everything kind of one step through. I wrote about Antoine Winfield Jr. this week over at the Draft Network. And so he was the guy that I was really focusing on. I was watching some of the offensive snaps as well. But with you now kind of saying that, I definitely agree that it was a tale of two halves, but I want to go back and I want to see kind of what the play calling is, because over the last couple of years, I've focused on how Leftwich has kind of progressed as a play caller, and he's definitely gotten better as he's gone on. You could tell early on he didn't have the best grasp of how to really attack games the way that he needed to with his certain play calling early on, and he's really, I think, done a better job of understanding what to call when. So I would be interested to go back and see if it was kind of a play calling thing. But really, when you ask that question, I think it was just execution. I really do. There were so many instances, whether it was the drops or just the miscommunications or whatever it was, where they just weren't on their P's and Q's. And I don't want to go into another transition without letting Ken be able to talk here on this topic.
No, keep going, man.
I mean, I when I think about the lack of execution, Gronkowski in the passing game is the first thing that pops out to me, and he's got to be better, man. So look,
was that a good move? In your opinion,
picking up Gronkowski?
Yeah.
Yes.
picking up Gronkowski in the offseason. I mean, and I know this is hindsight 2020, armchair quarterback, but when you look at everything and you're like, okay, do I have buyer's remorse here? Was that a good move?
On hindsight, yeah, it's great to say Gronk is struggling a little bit, but if you didn't expect Gronk to struggle a little bit, I think you were a little crazy. But Gronk, if you see what he's done in the run game, it's not worth $10 million. And yes, I would love to have a little bit more defensive line depth or defensive depth in general.
Right.
But what he does is kind of bring a little bit of stability. Like we all have our issues with Donovan Smith, and we have a rookie on the right side. No one expected Tristan Wirfs to be as good as he's performed, or at least I haven't.
I didn't either.
Being able to have that stability, like there's plenty of games during the Panthers game, Rob Gronkowski is blocking, the edge defender in most situations, which a lot of tight ends in the modern NFL can't do. A lot of them are, pass exclusive, or at least the ones that we know or love for fantasy. He's doing the dirty work. He's got the relationship with Brady. I'm hoping he just, is like Brady, taking those baby steps, and then hoping the second half of the year we get to see just a little bit of a glimpse and add a new weapon to the offense.
Yeah, I don't know if it's him, because I agree with you. I don't know if it's
or the scheme,
him getting his, I don't know, like his football legs back underneath him, or if it's just him being washed. I don't know which one it is, because right now he's just not playing at the speed that he needs to be playing in the passing game. I totally agree with you. I think he's been great in the run game. And, we're about 1 or 2 bad Donovan Smith games away from me putting out on Twitter, hey, just throw 30 more pounds on Gronk. Just have him start eating a bunch of pizza.
I threw that out today. I threw that out. Put 40 pounds on Gronk. Don't let him play for a whole month. Just give the boy pizza, wings, and fries for 5 times a day.
I mean, Gronk would probably love it. Who wouldn't really love that diet?
But, there you go, man.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, I mean, they've got to help Donovan Smith. I don't know. I watched a little bit of all 22 today. I just started kind of watching before we started here, and I don't know. Donovan Smith kind of frustrates me. He's kind of like O'Neal Cousins. I'm not saying he's as bad as O'Neal Cousins was, but I'm just saying it's just there are things. This guy has physical tools to be a good player, but we're just not seeing it. I don't know if it's from the neck up or what it is, but there are times where he has series where he plays good, and you can't take that. Tape don't lie. There are times where he has series where he plays good, but then there are other series where you're like, what is this dude doing? And I just wonder if it's from the neck up. Is that where the problem is?
Yeah, no guaranteed money after this season. And so I think that there is actually a good chance that they move on from him, because we've seen that Bruce Arians, like he doesn't put up with things that are detrimental to the team or who aren't allowing his team to progress in the ways that they need to move forward to become a championship caliber team. We saw it firsthand with Vernon Hargreaves last year, right? Vernon was the best corner on the team. He was the most experienced corner, and he was the guy who had the most snaps and had the most talent ratio to really get it done. They cut him. Like no reservations. They're like, all right, we're just starting rookies. Doesn't matter. We don't care. You're not where we want to. You are not taking us where we want to go.
Right.
Like I said to you at the beginning of this podcast, Gene, I don't think that this is the year to compete for a championship for this team. I think that it's next year. And I think that we are going to figure out things like, is Donovan Smith the caliber that he needs him to be? No. Is Rob Gronkowski worth the money that they're giving them? And like, these are the little things that I think that we're still figuring out about the Buccaneers here in 2020, that next year, I mean, look at it this way. Donovan Smith's got no guaranteed money. If you get rid of him, there's $14 million in cap that's now free for you to spend however you need to replace him, or bump Tristan Wirfs over to the left side, sign any kind of like really solid right tackle or like a veteran right tackle that we've seen hit the, for goodness sake, Brian Bulaga hit the market last year, and he got picked up by the Chargers. Can you imagine a world where it was almost a year ahead and the Bucs are picking up Brian Bulaga and they're moving Tristan Wirfs over to left tackle, right? If you move, let's say it's a reality where, hey, Donovan Smith's not holding up his end of the bargain. They're moving on from him, and they're figuring out, hey, we have too much money invested in tight ends for the production that we are getting from him. So Gronk, either you are taking a massive pay cut, or we're not going to bring you back. It's just not working out.
Yeah.
If they were to move on from Gronkowski and Donovan Smith, that's almost $25 million in cap right there.
Boom,
just
right
like
there.
immediately.
And the thing is, Donovan Smith was in the right place at the right time when his contract came up for that extension.
Oh yeah,
It
right.
just was, because there was nobody. You couldn't tell me. And somebody mentioned some name. I can't remember who it was. There were not a lot of offensive linemen available when they were looking to re-sign Donovan Smith. There just
The ones
weren't.
that were
Right.
franchise tagged. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
typically what happens with that position. You lock them
Exactly.
up early.
So it happened that he was in the right place at the right time, because I hear people talk about it all the time. Why'd you re-sign Donovan Smith to this kind of money? Who else was available? And when I asked the question, who was available, nobody can answer that question,
Right.
because there wasn't anybody. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't know.
Yeah.
Because you can bring somebody in and he's 10 times worse than Donovan Smith. So Donovan Smith had that relationship with the offensive line. They had a semblance of cohesion. Again, Donovan Smith has the physical tools to be a good player. But again, I just don't see it from the neck up. There are times where you see lapses, and I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. And again, I'm not a general manager. I'm not a head coach. I'm not a scout. But this is just what I see.
And speaking of which, like I've had a lot of people like mention to me, or like even you as well, Gene, about how Tristan Wirfs should just switch over to the left side right now, and that is not going to happen.
No, not
what
this
I've told,
year.
I know what I've told everyone to basically do is eat your cereal, write your name, do everything with your left hand for the next week, and let's see how you look in the following week, because that's retraining your brain. He played right tackle in college. He played some left tackle, I think a game or two, like nothing substantial. I mean, I'm sure he can cross train, but he needs a full off season to really, work on those skills, to really get comfortable in his stance, because as an offensive lineman, that's some of the most important things you can do. And like I played right tackle and left tackle in college. I mainly played exclusively right in high school because we just ran Nelson Aguilar, to death. And like it was just an easy.
You played with Nelson?
Yeah, Berkeley.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I saw the Berkeley shirt. I wondered if you played with Nelson.
Yeah, so I mean, like it was a pretty standard offense. Like when I played on the left side, I only played 1 year of high school football, so I used a right-handed stance on the left side, which was completely awkward. So when I was transitioning to college, the first thing that they told me to do was legit do wall sits. Do everything I can with my left hand and left leg as much as possible. Like I literally took a soccer ball in my backyard and started kicking. I had never kicked with my left leg before, like ever. So like it's all of those things you have to like train your mind to be able to able to cross train yourself, because it's all those small things. And then when you're having to go against, Von Miller, Joey Bosa, and all these guys, like you can't just thrust that onto someone and expect them to succeed,
It's not realistic.
especially someone that's young.
And again, guys, that's a great point right there. Leave Tristan Wirfs alone. I honestly believe there's nothing fans can do right now. This is your offensive line until somebody gets hurt or something drastic happens. This is your O-line, so you got to roll with it. And I think what they're going to have to do is just scheme to kind of help out Donovan Smith. I just saw, I don't know, I got to watch like 5 or 6 plays, and it's just concerning to me. Because you want to keep Tom Brady upright. And I've seen flash plays from Donovan Smith where he just knocks this guy out of the park. But then I've seen other plays where he looks like a turnstile. So again, it's being consistent and in protecting the quarterback. And like I said, I'm not a head coach or a GM or a scout, but this is just what I'm seeing.
No, I'm with you. I mean, like, if a reality came up where, I mean, let's say the Bucs are like 4-5 more than midway through the year, and they already know that Donovan Smith has big time struggled, and they know they're not going to bring him back. Like at that point, flip Tristan to left. Like it doesn't matter. Just let him get the snaps at left. Like if you think that
play with live bullets, there you go.
If you think that he is going to be your left tackle after this year, if you really don't think that you're going to re-sign Donovan Smith or bring him back, then sure. I mean, just give him the live bullets, because I think that he's been holding up his own, and by that time he will be accustomed to NFL speed and he'll get it. And at that point, it's just hey, get him the free snaps moving on into next year. So it's not just he's starting from ground zero next season. But outside of that reality, I don't think they're going to move on from him. I was looking while you guys were talking. I was just pulling it up just for fun. Trent Williams is a free agent next year. I don't know if San Francisco is for sure going to bring him back. It'd be kind of weird if they didn't. They
they're
probably
in a weird
should.
situation right now, though.
But yeah, if they start losing a lot of games and they just lost a lot of dudes to injury, are they going to bring back a 33-year-old?
I don't see them letting him go, man. I'm sorry,
but he's 33. You know, I maybe I don't either. I think
it's in the realm of possibilities.
I think he's going to stay, but yeah, I mean, Russell Okung, I think, is probably going to stay in Carolina. David Bakhtiari, there's not a chance in hell Green Bay is going to let him go. He's like the best left tackle in the game. Ronnie Stanley's not going anywhere. He's 27. He's not going to get re-signed, or he's not going to get unsigned.
So let me ask you this:
there
anybody? I mean, in the free agent market, is there anybody that you can compare, stat for stat with a Donovan Smith, or somebody that you could potentially bring in there?
That's why I'm trying to look through it. I mean, Garrett Bowles maybe in Denver, but I mean you're taking a risk on Garrett Bowles too. So
yeah, you're probably best chances to draft a right tackle.
Right. At that point, your best bet would be to draft a right tackle and to move Tristan Wirfs over. But then again, then you're talking about the 2021 season, which is what the buildup has been for all along. This might be Tom Brady's last year of being capable of winning a Super Bowl, and you're starting a second-year player at left tackle and a first-year player at right tackle. The Bucs hope that they're not picking high enough to really get a top-tier offensive tackle anyways in the first round. And so I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
To your point, Trevor, and I'm glad you brought that up, especially with the cap room. I mean, you're talking about Donovan Smith moving. If it's potentially moving away from him, you have enough money to where you could go into the draft. I think with the look of their draft picks, I think you can make some moves and move up in the draft and potentially get your guy. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, but I also, just from, studying this class, I think that there are a handful of offensive tackles that are good, but after Penei Sewell from Oregon, which Tampa's not going to be picking early enough to get Penei Sewell,
that ain't happening.
I would be cautious as of right now to draft someone from this class not named Penei Sewell and start him right away for a team that's trying to compete for a championship. It'd be kind of a tough ask for me. And so that's all something that plays into it. You can say Rick Stroud taught me this when I was on the beat, because I came in to the Bucs beat 3-4 years ago, and I was one of those people that was coming out of the Madden generation. And I was always just like, he sucks, cut him. Like, get rid of him. He sucks. Like, it doesn't matter. Just move on. And Rick Stroud had to consistently remind me, like, okay, who are you replacing him with? Like, you have to tell me who you're replacing him with. This is just how it goes. Because
that's the back end of your argument right there is, who are you? I want to get rid of this guy because of this, this, and this.
Right.
But I want to bring this guy in because of this, this, and this.
Now, people would probably be on the other side of my microphone screaming me saying, well, you just brought up the Vernon Hargraves point like 5 minutes ago. They didn't have anybody to replace Vernon, but it didn't matter because he was such a detriment to the team. They had to move on from him.
In the locker room, in the locker room, I'm sure and imagining.
But I think that's a different scenario, because last year, where the Bucs were competing, they were competing for a wild card spot at best. They were not competing for a championship. Next year, you're talking about competing for a championship. And so what is Donovan Smith's replacement, and can you guarantee it's better than what he is? That all goes in the equation. And I hear all the fans out there. I've been in all the discussions about Donovan Smith. People are big on just like, when do they move on from him? When do they move on from him? And has Tampa been as aggressive as they could have been to replace him or upgrade him? No, they haven't. I think that Jason Licht, the GM for the Bucs, has had a lot of faith in Donovan Smith because they have believed in his athletic upside. So they really, I'm sure that they have always looked at potential options, but it's not like they looked at things out there, whether it was in the draft or in free agency, and said, we have to replace Donovan Smith. It's never been to that level, but it might be to that level this offseason. We're just not sure, because the Bucs, for the first time in a really long time, are saying this roster at every level has to be championship caliber. right?
We're competitive.
And so I wrote that last week when I recapped the Bucs Saints game and tried to kind of like bring everybody down to earth a little bit. And in my Donovan Smith section of it, I said, look, this could be a major problem for this team moving forward. And giving some background about Donovan Smith, one thing that I said is that the team has never been good enough to where Donovan Smith's inconsistent play has demanded better. Like the rest of the team just has not been good enough.
Case in point this week, this game right here.
Sure.
Because wins cover a multitude of sins. They just do. And that's something we saw. And again, I haven't gotten a chance to really dig into this, and I'll talk about this more on Friday. But just looking at what Donovan Smith has done, I mean, he wasn't a detriment to his team this time. Right. Just because of how everything flowed.
Well, he gave up some stuff, but you're right. They won the game, so it's like you don't have to drag his name everywhere because they won by double digits.
And the best thing Donovan Smith does is play, as we've learned in the NFL. Your best availability is your availability.
Yeah,
and
he's always there.
He does. I mean, he does. If he's ever hurt, he's out one play. Like,
right.
He fights hard. I mean, it's just like, just give him a little bit more help. Like, not have Scotty Miller try to throw an extra block to try to help him because we know how that turned out. But give him some Gronk, give him a little extra help just here and there, and I think we'll be okay. Hopefully.
I want to jump to another subject. I want to jump on the other side of the ball here. Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett's been getting a lot of slander because of the limited amount of sacks that he's been getting. And I don't know if you've been following Bucks Twitter, but there you see people throwing shade at him here and there. I just want to put my perspective is sacks are sexy. That's all they are. And I'm gonna give you an analogy here. You've got this Instagram girl here, and she's fine. She looks good. She's got all these followers. She's sexy. But you have the around the way girl who's just as cute, and she can cook, she can clean, she can do whatever. And when I look at Shaq Barrett's getting pressures. He's getting plays away from the ball. He's still making plays. He's affecting the offense in some way, but it's just not getting sacks. I understand sacks. Sacks are cool. Sacks are nice to look at on ESPN in the replays. But when you're continuously getting pressure on the quarterback and you've got this quarterback who's under duress on a regular basis, I think that's equally as impressive as getting sacks.
Yeah, and any part of trench play, there's a good chance that a lot of your good plays just go unnoticed. Like even for defensive linemen where sacks come into play for how you kind of like recognize their accomplishments and how well they are doing. So I'll say this. The Bucs were extremely smart to franchise tag Shaq Barrett because coming off of 19 and a half sacks, Shaq basically could have commanded the world. He could have basically said, give me $25 million a year. I just got 19 and a half sacks for your team. And I think everybody out there, I think the Bucs included, maybe even Shaq included, knows that he's not going to get 19 and a half sacks again. And I've thought moving forward after last season, I thought, look, if Shaq Barrett can be an 8 to 12 sack player, I mean, like that's a damn good defensive player. And so he's
better than any lineman that the Bucs have had over the past 5 years.
Shaq Barrett is?
Yes.
He's not better than JPP.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you.
I apologize. Let me JPP from that scenario.
Sure.
But everybody going
outside of JPP,
since Simeon Rice, yes.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I think Jason Pierre-Paul is the best edge rusher that this team has had.
Still, I don't know how the man keeps doing it.
Yeah, I mean, he's incredible. He's a freak. Yeah. But all that to say, it's been two kind of tough matchups for Shaq Barrett. I know that JPP has gotten one sack in each game, and that makes it look good on his stat sheet because it's like, oh, okay, like he's already getting to work. Shaq's getting to work too. He's not winning one-on-one as much as he did the year before. And listen, if you go back and you watch a lot of his 19 and a half sacks, and I've gone and looked back at every single one of his sacks, a lot of his sacks are effort stuff. And I don't mean that to like really come down on Shaq in a big way. I mean, he was there. He put in the effort. He kept working on plays that were 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds long, and he was the guy to get to the quarterback first. But he ain't Von Miller. He's not putting one move on you and getting past you into the quarterback. He's just not doing that. That's not what Shaq Barrett is. And so a lot of those sacks last season were big-time effort sacks. And so with that being the case, effort plays are what you have to look forward to for what he's doing well. And when I went back and I watched that Carolina game, I found on multiple occasions, Shaq was setting the edge great. He was keeping running backs from bouncing to the outside on the sideline. He was pushing guys back in. He was pushing the pocket strong. Now, again, is he Von Miller? Is he Danielle Hunter? Is he J.J. Watt? Is he going to rip off you immediately in half a second and get to the quarterback? No, probably not. He's been capable of it, and we've seen it in flashes from 2019, but that's just not something that you can expect from him every time. So the problem with Shaq, and with I think what a lot of Bucs fans might be mad about out there, it's not necessarily him, it's your expectation. You've got to look at Shaq through the correct lens. If you look at him through the lens of he's supposed to be Chandler Jones every year, getting somewhere near 15 or above sacks, you're looking at the wrong guy. You were going to be disappointed before this year even started. Going into these next two games, he's got a Denver team that's got a shaky offensive line and a not great quarterback back there with Jeff Driscoll, although I'm not exactly sure how they're going to game plan. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to game plan Jeff Driscoll, because if it was Drew Lock, I could see him hanging back in the pocket for those longer routes for his bigger arm. But Jeff Driscoll, who knows, they might just get rid of the ball early, and I'm not sure. But if they have Driscoll hold on to the ball at all, Denver's offensive tackles aren't very great. So you could see Shaq break through and get his first sack of the season this upcoming week. The following week, Los Angeles Chargers, their tackle situation ain't great. So, after all this complaining, we could be looking at Shaq Barrett 2 games from now and say, like, hey, he's got 2 sacks under his belt. Like, he's doing fine. He's halfway to that 8-sack goal that you would probably have for him every single year. And so that's really what I think with Barrett. I think that the expectation here has to be that he is a 8, you hope, to 12 at best sack player for your team, but really you're shooting probably somewhere from 8 to 10 sacks. And if you're expecting a lot more than that, you're looking in the wrong realm with Shaq Barrett.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got 2 points I want to make about Shaq real quick, and then we can move on.
Okay.
So my big thing is Shaq. I believe he was stalemated a bunch during the Saints game. I don't think it's anything to be too concerned about. That's the best offensive line tandem in my opinion in the NFL, and he did a little bit, but he didn't do as well as I hoped he would and what I thought he could do. Last week, like Trevor said, he's setting the edge. He's doing a lot of good things to set up other people for good plays, sacks, or other sorts of different situations, which is amazing. But what I equate sacks to is kind of what your analogy was, Gene, is kind of what I'm doing with basketball here. Some of the best defenders in the NBA aren't the lead leaders in steals or blocks. They're typically the guys who are always just around the ball. They're affecting shots. They're doing the right things to help, their teams, keep the other team from scoring on the hoop. So, I mean, it's basically the same concept. Shaq Barrett, him and JPP, they're going to exchange sacks. It's going to happen. I don't think we're going to see that many sacks from Vita or Ndamukong Suh, just kind of based on what they're, been doing. Suh got a late one last week to give him 2, but in the most part, I think they're going to live in that, 4 to 6 to 7 sack range. So it's basically going to be these two who are playing 95% of the snaps, and they're just going to exchange. Sometimes it's going to be a JPP game. Sometimes it's going to be a Shaq game. It all depends on the scheme and the situation.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and you're spot on that. Again, I love what Shaq Barrett is doing away from the football. And when people watch NFL football, they're watching, this is where the ball's going. They're not paying attention to anything else. They don't care about who's setting the edge or any of that stuff. And if you're watching the show, I encourage you, if you can, look at a specific player and follow that player during a series. I mean, and I know it's kind of tough, but just try that and see what other players are doing. I mean, looking at what Antoine Winfield Jr. is doing, what Devin White is doing, what Levante David. These are guys that they've been doing this for. I mean, not so much Devin White, but Levante David. What he's been doing has just been incredible, and it's a shame that he hasn't been recognized for what he's doing.
I agree.
So I want to kind of touch base here with you and see what are your thoughts on, the Denver Broncos. I know that's the upcoming game we have. We've kind of talked a little bit about the, with the Carolina Panthers. We know you, especially living in Charlotte, you know what they are. I love their secondary, and I probably am one of the few people that watch their secondary. I watch Chin, Razul. I think his name is Razul Douglas.
Yep.
The guy is a stud, and
I liked
think,
him coming out of West Virginia. I mean, he didn't have a great stint with the Eagles, but I really liked his tape coming out of West Virginia.
I don't think they utilized him right though. But again, I think he's in a good place right now, and I think that you can build on that secondary that they have. But I kind of want to talk about the Denver Broncos because I want to get your thoughts on it. You being the draft guy, especially with fantasy football and everything. What do you think about this Denver Broncos team? I mean, is this? I know that I realized to me this is a winnable game. I looked at the matchups last week. I mean, actually watching the game, and I believe that Tampa has a chance to go out there and do some things, and especially on offense. With Tom Brady working with Mike Evans, getting Chris Godwin back, and utilizing some of these tight ends. I don't know. Is that more of a Bruce Arians thing, not using the tight ends, or is that more of a Tom Brady thing?
I think it's more of a Bruce Arians thing, just like by nature. I mean, there's something to the fact that Arians really didn't utilize tight ends a lot before coming to Tampa Bay. I remember doing a big study on that because when Arians was called in to be head coach, it's like, hey, they got OJ Howard, they have Cam Brate. This is such a tight end heavy offense in prior years. Is Arians going to be able to utilize it? And I don't think he's opposed to it. It's just not natural to him. Like now that Chris Godwin's a stud, they're going to run the offense through Godwin and Evans. I mean, that's just the way that it goes. And now that they've added Gronkowski, they'll throw in the tight ends a little bit, but it's clear Bruce Arians in this offense, they want to run things through their wide receivers. And I agree with you. I think this is another winnable game for them, especially with Denver out probably their two best offensive weapons in Drew Lock and in Cortland Sutton, who is now out for the year. And so, they're starting some young guys. They're starting KJ Hamler, Jerry Jeudy, Deshaun Hamilton. They cut Tyree Cleveland. These are the receivers that they're trying to lean on. Noah Fant's going to be the big guy that they're leaning on in the tight end game. And so it's going to be up to Devin White to really shut down Noah Fant. I think that's a big matchup there. Sean Murphy-Bunting is going to have a tough job against Jerry Jeudy. I'm just going to say it. I mean, like they can't put. I don't think they can put Carlton Davis on Jerry Jeudy. They're going to
is out of this world.
Yeah, they're going to be in trouble. I like Carlton Davis. I like him. I really do.
And I'm not taking anything away from him, but that Jerry Judy's footwork is just ridiculous.
If the Broncos had Cortland Sutton, I think that Carlton Davis would be a great matchup against Cortland Sutton. But like he's a bad matchup for Jerry Jeudy. So I think they have to put Sean Murphy-Bunting on him just to get more speed and quickness against Jerry Jeudy. But again, like he's a rookie. I love Jerry Jeudy. I agree with what you were saying there. The footwork is the most easily translatable thing from college to the NFL when it comes to wide receiver work. And so I think that he's going to have a strong presence. And then Vic Fangio, he's the head coach of this team. I think the defense is always going to be stout, but with I almost said Nick Chubb, with Bradley Chubb still on that like pitch count coming back from his injury. There's no Von Miller there. I love Justice Simmons as their free safety, but as long as they kind of stay away from him, I think they're all right. They've got Devontae Harris as their other corner. Bryce Callahan's good, but outside of that, this team is beatable. And I think that that's what they have to think going into it, is that this should be a game where they're coming out of it 2-1.
There you go. T. Smitty 3000. Don't nobody care about your Alabama Crimson Tide, man. Just because Jerry Jeudy may have gone there, it's okay. We don't have to talk about that. And I just got to put that out there because this guy is a longtime listener, but he is a huge Alabama Roll Tide.
He knows it. Then he understands how good Jerry Jeudy is because he watched it for the last 3 years. So
that guy, I mean, I always talk about speed and space, and he is the personification of speed and space. Just watching him, when he can get open and he has that open field to go up against a defender, he's incredible to watch.
Yep, I agree.
So for you, what are the key matchups? What are the keys for victory for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the Denver Broncos?
Honestly, just execution. They're better than this team. They have more talent. And I think that that's really what this entire season should be about, because for years and years, the Buccaneers, even when they were more talented than the other team, like let's think of the Dirk Cutter teams, when they were able, or when they had the potential to put up so many points, they just didn't do it in a way that got them victories. There were so many times when the Bucs just continued to play down to their opponent. And I think that this season, more than anything else, and especially with Tom Brady there now, it's all about being better and getting out with wins against teams that you should just absolutely beat. And I think that Denver is one of those teams. And look, you're going to have maybe, I'll say, 8 or 9 games a year that could be close, that you're close in talent with, especially right now as the Buccaneers. I don't think they're out like just dominating anybody on the depth chart.
Right.
But I think you're going to get about half of their opponents that they play this year that they are even matches with, and those games could kind of go either way. But I think on the other half, there's going to be like 6 to 8 opponents where there just should be better than. They should beat these teams. Carolina was one of them last week. Denver is another team, especially, if Denver had all their starters, it might be a different story, but they don't. They're out a lot of their stars. They're out Philip Lindsay, they're out Cortland Sutton, they're out Von Miller. Like these are monster players for them. They're, of course, out Drew Lock as well. And so this is a winnable game. They should win this game. The matchup, it's just the biggest matchup is Bucs against Bucs. It's just about execution. Don't get in your own way. Don't get the boneheaded penalties, that kind of stuff. If they do, they'll win the game, and they need to win the game. That's a good one too.
Yeah, no, and for me, say quickly for me. Okay, quickly. So basically, my big thing is, we gotta just see them keep taking those steps and just really build upon, what they did consistently, through the Panthers game. There was the one interception and the one fumble, but for the most part, things were just clicking. At least seemed to be on the right page. Take those next steps. As Trevor said, take advantage of the situation that you have in front of you. I think a lot of fans are expecting a 30-point win. I don't think that should be our expectations. Just win by, more than one score. Let's just really build some momentum going into the tougher part of our schedule and make sure we stay healthy, do everything that we need to do. And I think we might even see an old friend over at right tackle from everything I'm reading over at Broncos pages.
Yeah, there you go. Hey guys, Trevor, we've got a few more minutes here before we jump off. I do want to hit you with the hot seat. And this is something we do for every single guest that comes on.
Oh, Lord.
10 questions, 1 minute. I know you can do this. You're my hero.
10.
So I know you can do this. No pressure. No pressure at all.
All right.
They're NFL questions, buy or sell, contender, pretender, that kind of thing.
Okay. All right.
Here on how this is going to work.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I'm going to ask you the first question, and I will start the clock. The Oakland Raiders can win the AFC South. Oh, AFC South. Jesus. AFC West, buy or sell?
Sell. I think they're good. I think they can get a wild card spot, but they're not beating the Chiefs out for it.
Minshew or Herbert? Who you got?
Oh, Gardner Minshew.
Drew Brees needs to retire. Buy or sell?
Buy. Yes, just so we can see Jameis Winston go full Jameis Winston in a Saints jersey.
The Cleveland Browns.
Extra seconds.
Cleveland Browns, contenders or pretenders?
Pretenders. I'm going to say pretenders. I got to see more out of Baker Mayfield. I'm losing faith.
Cam Newton will win a Super Bowl before his career is over. Buy or sell?
I'm just going to say sell because the odds are so low on that, but he's going to win comeback player of the year this year. He was fun.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, contenders or pretenders?
I will say pretenders for this year. As I said at the beginning of the podcast, I think next year is the year for him.
Adam Gase or Dan Quinn? Who you got?
Pass me. You, Gene. I'm picking you. You be the damn head coach.
Oh, bro, that was my catch question right there. The Buffalo Bills will win the AFC East.
Yeah, I do think they're going to win the AFC East. Yeah, I'm gonna buy that one.
Donovan Smith is back in Tampa 2021. Buy or sell?
Sell. I'm gonna sell it.
Mike Allstott or Warwick Dunn? Who you got?
Oh my gosh. My dad would kill me if I didn't say Mike Allstott, so I got to say Mike Allstott.
My brother, thank you so much. You are a great sport, man. You didn't win, of course, but I appreciate you coming on here and doing this. I didn't mean to make the question so hard.
No, it's always a great time talking ball and hanging out with you guys. I really, really appreciate you having me on.
All right. Once again, folks, if you're not following Trevor Sikkema, please follow him. This guy is amazing. Great football IQ, great football mind. He's the voice of reason. I call him the voice of reason because that's what he is. And again, thank you so much. What we do before we roll out of here, and again, Ken, I'm sorry about your cable situation. Who's that, Spectrum?
Well, yeah, we'll say Spectrum.
We'll
yell at them later.
We'll yell at them later. Oh, okay. So we So it was it Spectrum or was it not?
No, it is Spectrum, but like I'm just saying, like it was a weird situation. I'm not going to put it on them.
You're not going to blame them?
Nah, it was a weird situation.
So I don't get to do my. Okay, well, because we we Spectrum caused you to be late, I will go ahead and
bitch, get fucked.
that's basically for Spectrum. That's what I think of y'all. So again, this is what we do, man. And again, thank you, Trevor, for coming on. I know Trevor jumped off here, but again, he's a great follow. I like that he's able to work with a lot of different teams and a lot of different podcasts, and just what he does, he's greatly appreciated. I cannot stress that enough. If you can follow him, follow him. My guy, Ken, not Shaq Barrett, Ken Barrett, follow. Come on, guys. Come on. You got to be kidding me. This guy, he's got good takes. Come on, follow my guy here. Give him a follow. If you're new to Buc What You Heard, if you've never been on Buc What You Heard, if you've never heard of Buc What You Heard, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, and just, give me a follow. Let me know what you think. I'm always looking to make changes, that kind of thing.
Really quick. And also, if you subscribe, make sure you hit that little bell for the notifications. My dad was actually asking me about that. Oh, you can get notified whenever they subscribe and stuff, and whenever you go live, it'll just pop right up.
Yeah, that's what I'm into. I haven't really pressed it. I'm like, okay, if you like the show, you like the show, whatever. But again, if you don't know about it, you don't know. But
well, we're all busy. Like, sometimes we forget what day of the week it is during COVID.
Yeah. And we will go next week. We will go back to Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. This was probably the only time I could get Trevor on, so I decided to do this show this time. And I think what we're gonna do, we are looking at doing a fan show, to where we can preview the upcoming game with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus whomever they play, and we're looking at possibly Friday, maybe Saturday. I don't know where we are with that, but I do know that we want to kind of split this up a little bit more. I think we're going to go to maybe more shorter shows, because I know people get bored with my madness and my ravings and they want to go on to something else. But I want your thoughts, because listen, guys, this is a fan show. This is a show for the fans. This is me helping you guys to get your voice heard. And you know what? Let's do this. I don't know how much time you have, but
I got time, dude.
You've got time. Let's do this. I'm going to actually make this I'm going to open up the phone lines. I didn't think I was going to do this, but
let's do it.
Let's open up the phone lines here. And I think because this is going to be kind of fun. And let's see if I can get the banner going here. All right. And that number is 813-358-8154. I'm going to give you guys a chance to call in and let's get your thoughts on this Bucs game. I did all the talking. Ken did a little bit of talking because he came in late because of Spectrum.
Later, bitch. Get fucked.
And they got to do better. But I want to get you guys' thoughts, man. If you get a chance. Oh, we got a caller already. Here we go. I bet it's T. Smitty.
I bet it's T. Smitty. I would bet $50 it's T. Smitty.
$50. All right, you are on with Buc What You Heard. Who am I speaking with?
Oh, it sounds like T. Smitty. I can't hear him, but I can hear him. If you know what I mean. I mean.
Exactly. Let me see if I can fix this here.
He's so loud I can hear him from your headphones to your mic.
I tell you what, well, give me a second, T. Smitty. Don't hang up, brother. We're going to get you on here. Thank you so much for coming on. We're going to make this happen.
I'll just say this right now, T. Smitty, while this is all working out, Jerry Judy's going down this weekend.
Oh, hey, T. Smitty, call me right back. Give me 1 second. Let me get this all set up. I wasn't planning on doing this, but this is kind of an impromptu. This is the thing you can do when you're live. You can do this kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So let's see.
Yeah, on the real, though, apparently I've been reading that DeMar Dotson might be starting on Sunday.
Hell's bells and damnation. Are you serious?
Yeah.
You've got to be kidding me. DeMar Dotson, really? I wonder how many false starts are they going to get? I'm sorry. That was wrong. That was wrong.
Hey, he gave us good years, but he's no longer a Buck. If he was still retired, we'd just say nothing but praise for him.
You know what? I got nothing but love for the dude. And that's
My dad actually did his air conditioning once. Pretty cool story.
Really?
Yeah. He's like, because he didn't realize how big DeMar was. Like he knew he was a player, but he's 6'9", like
and he's huge. So the guy is okay. And am I speaking with T. Smitty?
You daggone right. Can you guys hear me better now?
Yep, I can hear you
loud and clear.
Please don't talk about the Atlanta Crimson Tide or Atlanta Falcons Crimson Tide or whoever.
Hey, I know you're going to yell at me. I mean, I get Gene to yell at me.
I don't want to talk about I don't want to talk about the Atlanta Crimson Tide, okay?
Hey, but I think I'm talking about Donovan Smith, right? There's a left tackle that plays there, Alex Leatherwood, who might be around depending on how the Bucks finish or trade up. And remember when Jonah Williams got hurt in the national championship game?
He played well.
Yeah, and so keep an eye on that guy. He may be a trade-up option.
My only issue is, do you think the Bucks will be picking early? I mean, I'm envisioning the Bucks are picking in the late 20s, early 30s. So will they even be able to trade up that far? Is my question.
I hope, honestly, that's the problem. I hope they don't trade up, and that's why you have to keep drafting line. Because I look at the Washington football team. I do think they're in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. Too bad Dwayne Haskins doesn't know it yet. But they draft just how they draft linemen every year on both sides of the ball, and it provides depth. And I think that's something the Bucks should look into. But
it's interesting. It's interesting you say that. To me, it's like I've said this a couple of times through the show. Better the devil you know than you don't know. But just watching Donovan Smith, I'm like, do you go to the draft? I mean, is that an opportunity to build for the future? And I personally, Donovan Smith is who he is. At this point, as long as he's been in the NFL, Donovan Smith is who he is. And I really believe in my heart of hearts that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to address that position in the draft. I know a lot of people are like, well, you're shooting for a Super Bowl, but I'm sorry, that's just kind of where I see this team at, is that they're going to address this position in the draft. I cannot see them paying Donovan Smith for the play that he's producing. What about, and I'm going to ask Ken, what are your thoughts?
Dude, I don't even know who's going to be available. Like, what if it's the same kind of free agent class as last year? I mean, left tackles are just rare, and there's backup level right tackles making 10 to 12 million from free agency last year. Like, I'm kind of scared about the tackle situation.
A lot of overpaying out there. And T. Smitty, I want to ask you, give me your overview of this game on Sunday. What were your thoughts as you were watching this game, and give me your final thought?
Well, before the Broncos became a mass unit, I thought the Bucs would lose this game because this at Mile High Stadium at Denver has been Brady's Waterloo. And no matter what how good the teams have been, they seem to fall short. It's kind of like that pitcher in baseball who simply gets rocked at a certain stadium. But they are so beaten up. The Bucs have to win this game by double digits, in my opinion. They lose, and I think AJ Bouye may be out for them as well.
Yeah, he is out. He is out.
He is out.
Yeah. So there's no reason, no fans in the stands. They're down a quarterback, down all these people, that this team should win by double digits. But this is where I think this will test the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Don't have their heads too big. They have to act like this team is fully loaded. And I didn't think this was a playoff team anyway, the Broncos. But this is where leadership comes in from the coach. Not Tom Brady. I know he's Bruce Arians hired him to be the leader, but he's a quarterback. Bruce, you need to be the coach right here. Set the tone where this team, you should not take this team lightly. You need to put the foot on their throat and beat them down because they're so beaten up right now.
Yeah,
and I'm expecting double-digit win.
Yep. All right. So give me a score. Before you jump off here, give me what is your final score of the game? And listen, T. Smitty, you're going to be able to call in on Friday. We're going to do this again on Friday, and we're going to get ready.
Yeah.
Or should we do this on Saturday? Would that be better? Because everybody's doing their little.
We'll work it out.
We'll work it out.
Yeah.
I think we're leaning more towards Saturday because nobody's doing this on Saturday, and that might be better. But I don't know. We're going to talk with the co-host, and we're going to get this all worked out. But again, what is your final score right now before all the injury reports and everything come out?
Yeah, and I do have a question for you after I give a score. I think the score is going to be 24-10 because they did kind of hang around with Pittsburgh despite all of that. But I do have a question for you, though.
Okay.
For both of you guys, how pissed was Sean Payton when Drew Brees said he was coming back?
I don't think he knew how bad Drew Brees was going to look when he came back.
Dude, we're talking about Sean Payton.
Later, bitch! Get fucked!
That's what I think about him, and is trying to hang 40 on the Bucs.
Yeah, because to me, Drew Brees is kind of like how the media protected him. If anyone if the media had the stones to say it, the dude was washed a couple of years ago because the dude can't go downfield. He hasn't done it, and that's why I was pissed off. Mike Smith kept playing off coverage to a guy who can't put the ball downfield. And it's okay because of his age. Right. Just like Brady, if we have realistic expectations of these guys, you'll be fine. Mm-hmm. If you expected them at their heyday, that's just unrealistic. That's unfair to them and everybody else. But hey, you guys have a good one, man. Thanks.
All right, man. Thanks,
T. Smitty.
This is T. Smitty. If you get a chance to follow him on Twitter, hit him up. He's a good follow as well. Thanks, brother.
Peace, guys.
Yeah, I think we're going to get another caller here pretty soon, but we'll see.
Awesome.
But again, I thought this is kind of a good time to let people get in here and say what they got to say, and that's what this show is about. Zach Jarvis. It was Zach Jarvis that tried to call in, and we didn't actually have the phone lines open at that time, but hopefully we can get him on here. Again, the Bucs have to execute. It's all about execution. You got to finish what you're doing. And that's what it all comes down to. When you look at the pass that Shady missed, you look at the pass that Scotty Miller missed. And, fortunately on that Scotty Miller, they still ended up scoring, I believe, on that series.
It was a field goal, I believe.
Yeah, but it should have been 14 points. End of story. If you're out there, you're a professional player. And we've seen Scotty Miller make more difficult catches than this under Jameis Winston just because of where he was putting the ball. I think this ball was put in a place where only Scotty Miller could have got to it. And it was just up to him to make that play. And it didn't happen.
But, Gene, according to ESPN, Drew Brees is not washed and Tom Brady is.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and I'm good with that. And there's another reason I don't watch ESPN a whole lot. I mean, other than watching a game that's on, or possibly watching a basketball game when my beloved KU Jayhawks. Other than that, I really don't. I honestly do not watch ESPN. Frank G. Frank G, give us a call. 813-358-8154. Hit us up, man. We got you.
It's at the bottom of the video to anyone who's looking.
It's at the bottom, man. Hit us up. We are waiting on your call. But with this team, I think there are some unrealistic expectations. I think the team is progressing at a good pace. And, with teams like the Denver Broncos and getting to play against a rookie quarterback, I think this secondary, I think this defense will respond better against a quarterback like this. And I think they will, make the most of these plays. Whereas in the past, we've seen where the defense has not done the best against a rookie or a second string or a backup, whatever quarterback. I think that we're in a good position right here. Oh, nice hound.
Yeah, he's my little boy. He wanted to come up, say hi.
All right. We've got another caller here. Let's see who we got here. Okay, caller, you're on with Buc What You Heard. Who are we talking with?
Hey, Gene, it's Frank. How you doing, man?
My man Frank G, longtime caller, well, longtime listener, I should say. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, of course. I'm doing good, man. Just stuck in traffic in LA.
Yep. Hey, man, so you got a long way to go. So it's a good thing. So you probably get to listen to a whole show by the time you get home here and by the time you get home in LA, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So when you come in, when you go on at 4, it's like 4:30, and I'm listening to you, and
that's what's up, man.
Cool. I like listening to you guys, man.
Hey, so I want to get your thoughts, man. What are your thoughts on this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team? I mean, from the time that Tom Brady was announced to where we are now, how comfortable are you? And do you feel like this is a team that's going to go to the playoffs?
Okay, in my personal opinion, I think the Bucs will make the playoffs. These past 2 games, I mean, the offense has just been really sloppy. The defense looks good. I mean, it reminds me of that 2002, 2005 defense, man.
Do you think it's something they can fix up? I mean, on offense, on the offensive side of the ball, are these things that you think they can fix?
I think they can fix it. I think it has. I mean, with chemistry and reps, it could be fixed.
All
I
right.
feel it could be fixed.
That's what's up.
I was watching the Saints game yesterday, and I mean, Drew Brees' arm looked horrible.
Yep, I'm right there with you, man.
Little bitch, get fucked.
That's what. There we go, man. You know, it's just I do believe, and this is my hot take, that Tampa will beat the New Orleans Saints in that next game they play. This is my hot take.
I feel they will. They will beat them.
I think they're going to fix a lot of the problems they had in the first game of the season, and I'm going on record. That's my hot take, that they are going to beat them.
And the Bucs might have a home field advantage.
There you go. So, how comfortable are you with this game against the Denver Broncos? What are your thoughts?
I'm very comfortable. I think the Bucs will beat the Broncos. I know Denver's pretty beat up. I was looking at all their injuries, and the Bucs, they're healthy. They don't have nobody out, so nobody noticeable out. So I think they'll do good. Maybe the only concern will be the altitude, but that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, I've skied in that weather, so it's not playing football, but I think I know that's probably one of the things that's a benefit for them, just like the humidity is for Tampa. So, hopefully the Bucs, like you said, hopefully the Bucs can overcome that. Ken, your thoughts? Anyone to jump in here?
I mean, the Bucs are 0-1 when they play against, or when they beat themselves. So, just don't turn the ball over, play within yourself. And I think if the Bucs just do that and walk out of there healthy, I think it's going to be a more than one score win.
Yep. And for God's sakes, the penalties. I mean, there's just no need for them. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, and the Bucs actually didn't have that many penalty yards against the Panthers. I think it was only 35, and I think they had close to 100 week 1. So
yeah, 119. Yeah,
it's the Brady effect.
There you go, man. And
Brady's they're making
improvements.
Oh, we're getting a couple of pass interference calls I didn't think we'd get normally.
Yeah, you never know. So Frank, give me your final thoughts before I let you go, man. It could be anything.
Final thoughts. The Bucs are going to beat the Broncos, and also I'm digging those new uniforms. I know we haven't really mentioned that much, but
I like the uniforms.
Those new uniforms they look good in action.
Well, I'm holding off buying a Shaq Barrett jersey till they have it in pewter.
Yeah,
I want the pewter jersey, but they only have it for Gronk and Brady.
Yeah, which is disgusting.
It's
a bunch of rubbish.
And they're going to wear it this game, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're wearing them this week. Yeah,
all pewter.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've seen people throwing shade already, but they're my friends, so I'm not gonna go that route. I'm gonna be nice.
I think the all whites are clean, though. I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah, you know what? All whites. Yeah, they're nice, but that pewter is nice too.
Oh, I wish all reds.
You know what would make me happy if they would bring back the red, but just change the alarm clock numbers on it, I think that would be.
See, part of me wants them to have like a black uniform, like an all black. I think that'd be sick, but I'm afraid to be too Falcony and too Mean Machine.
Yeah,
For longest yard, but that's the only thing. But I think they look nice.
yeah. We'll leave the Falcons to have whatever they've got.
Let the birds get fucked.
So,
Speaking of the Falcons,
well, Frank, man, thank you so much for calling in. You are always welcome to call in. We're going to do this again when we do our matchup.
Yeah, man, call him Friday or Saturday, whenever it is.
Yeah, we're going to figure it out, bro. I promise. And
All right.
we'll put
Sounds good, man.
Hey, thanks for calling in, brother. You have a good one.
You too. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So what do you think? I think that it would be kind of cool if we got all the listeners on and everybody gives their score, and we talk about it on the next show on Wednesday.
Well, especially if they have a little bit of a notice, I feel like they'd be ready to call in and be ready to go.
Yep. All right. Yeah, and again, guys, if you get an opportunity, if you've never watched the show before, if you've never checked it out, just please just go ahead and subscribe. I mean, you don't have to hit the bell, but just subscribe.
and send Gene some beer, and you'll get as many call-ins as you want.
Exactly. I'll let you call in over and over and over again as many times as you want. That's just how that works. I can be bought. and for a reasonable price can be bought. But anyway, that's pretty much it, man. I'm glad you got to make it, Ken. That is so.
Me too, man.
Made the show, man. I mean, and again, thank you, Trevor Sikkema, so much for coming on and chopping it up with us. We will be having special guests like that here and there. I want to get I'll probably get Pat Donovan on here again.
I love Pat, man. I've never talked to him before, but he's the nicest dude on Twitter, man.
Yeah, he's a class act in person.
Him and T-Kraz. I wish I was able to be in Tampa Bay radio more, so that way I could listen to him.
Yeah,
they're both really good. Yeah,
my guy T-Bass, and a lot of people hate T-Bass, but I love T-Bass as my guy. He's a good friend of the show as well. So again, we're going to have some unique guests on here. I want to get the fans more involved. I want to get the listeners involved more. And I think that's what makes the show so great, is to be able to do that kind of thing. Byron Moore, what's going on, man? Thank you everybody for getting a chance to check it out. And I think we're going to go ahead and jump off of here. And, we got to recap it a little bit, and we'll look forward to the next show here at the end of the week, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Bucs. But again, that's pretty much it for us, and we are out of here. Any final thoughts, Ken, before we go out?
No, man, let's just rest up and let's be ready for Friday, Saturday, and a good day on Sunday.
Yeah, enjoy that win. Let's get ready for the Bucs to go out and win another one, man. We're getting closer to the playoffs. Let's make it happen. All right, guys, we are out of here.
Deuces.